Did you know that there is one book in the New Testament that all Christians are called to memorize? Did you know that this book has 7 blessings in it, like the Beatitudes? Did you know that there are strict warnings on this book and we can't mishandle this book in any way, shape, or form? What book am I talking about? I am talking about the book of Revelation. Yes, that's right. I am talking about the book of Revelation. And there are some very strict rules that are on that book of Revelation. So what are these rules? Well, let's start in Revelation 1, verse 3. It says, "You will be blessed if you read this book out loud and you hear it read out loud." Now that's a pretty awesome blessing. All you have to do is read it out loud and hear it read out loud. You're just to know the book. That verse goes on to say that you will be blessed if you keep, know, and lay this book to your heart. Now, how many of you have laid it to your heart? That almost means memorize. There's another scripture in chapter 22, verse 10, that says, "Do not keep this book hidden or secretive. Do not conceal it or hide it." And lastly, in the chapter 22, verses 18 and 19, it says, "Do not add to or take away one word from this book, or you will be stricken from participating in the kingdom of heaven." Participating with the tree of life, participating with the river of life. Well, those are in heaven. And it is a very, very strict warning. So, if you haven't read this book in a very long time, I challenge you to read it out loud and hear it read out loud. But I also challenge you to begin to work on laying this book to your heart. I would like to teach you a military technique. I'm a military wife. My husband was in the Air Force for over 24 years. And I watched these Air Force men and women memorize tons of information by bullet format. And they would bullet format all of the information. And what I mean is chop up that sea of black words. Your brain can't memorize that sea of black words. But if you chop it up into 3 to 5 snippets, skip a line, then 3 to 5 words, skip a line, 3 to 5 words, skip a line, and really space it out, your brain can really grab onto that short, staccato, brief, spread out bullet format. And there's a wonderful book out there by a lovely lady named Dr. Donna Johnson. And she wrote a book called Guaranteed 4.0, or I'll Give You $100 Back. And she teaches bullet formatting. And it is just an excellent way for your brain to memorize a lot of information. So, everybody underneath the sound of my voice has a homework assignment, and I'm going to ask you to go buy a nice, good, thick spiral notebook. And then just word for word verbatim, go through and begin to just write 3 to 5 words, skip a line, 3 to 5 words, skip a line. So, what happens if we hide the book of Revelation? What happens if we don't pay attention to it? We don't teach it in our churches. We ignore it. We put it on the shelf, and we don't expose ourselves to it at all, or we think it's too scary. I believe that that's a very scary place to be, because you are removing 1,952 words. You're taking them away. Remember, we're not to add to or take away one word. Well, when you're hiding this book, you're taking all of those words away. So I challenge you to get brave, open the book, and begin to outline it. As you slow yourself down with this book, a vast portion of it is going to interpret itself. So it's really cool, because you'll read passages like Jesus holding 7 stars, walking amongst 7 lampstands. Well, what does that mean? And you read about 8 verses down, and there's going to be a verse that'll say, "And the 7 stars are the 7 angels to the 7 churches. And the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches." So you go back up 8 verses and you plug that information in where it mentioned it the very first time. As you slow yourself down and outlining it, you'll see that there's a lot of this interpretation already right there in the text that will help you out. Now, this book is an amazing book. It's really simple. It's got 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 bowls of wrath. And so it's really easy. Church number 1, Ephesus. And then just keep going and list out all the details about Ephesus. And then all the details about the second church and the third church. You'll find that it's a really, really easy book to bullet format. And I think you'll also find it to be one of your most rewarding things that you've ever done. I outline the book of Revelation about every 3 to 4 years, and I do it in different translations. I am trying my best to keep it, know it, and lay it to my heart. I know I will be blessed because of it, and I don't add to or move around, or I don't even care if you interpret it or not. It doesn't mean that you need to interpret it. You just need to know it. So I want to invite you on this journey as we are going to study this book really, really hard. We're going to build a foundation first, and then we're going to study the book of Revelation line upon line and just word for word, and just pay attention to each little bit. It's an exciting book. It's a beautiful book. It is a book full of worship. And if you can't see it, that this is a wedding and a worship book and a love letter to the bride, you haven't arrived yet. So it's time to really focus in on the wonderful book of Revelation. Good night.